Hello and welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast right here on Dedicated Art. I'm your host, Chris Dohmen. China 6 Army is in the house. I hope you've all had a marvelous week. Hope you've all had a dandy old time. I can actually say my week's been pretty good, even though I had to work on my day off. I don't appreciate that, but you know what? I need the extra money, so fuck it. Why not, right? But, I'm not the only one here on the show tonight, because obviously we got a lot to talk about. Some big stuff happening in movie news, and some controversial stuff, that might have to get discussed. But obviously, I'm not here alone. I've got my usual co-host, Kees Cornelisse. Kees, what's up, brother? How have you been?
I've been as well as I can during a morning shift. Yes, it's still my most hated shift out of all of them because my sleep gets fucked up. But I survived, and next week is the night shift, and that makes me happy because that's my favorite. So I was Terminator and T2 this week, so that's always a good thing. And other than that, I wish I was where our guest is right now, because that means that I would be in the city where Formula One takes place this weekend.
Ah, yes. So, yeah, you saw us both. Well, okay, it's not really a surprise because it sort of happened at the last minute, but of course I wasn't going to say no because we like having this guy on the show. We love talking with him because, and it turns out he was just available. He's like, hey, Chris, can I be on the show tonight? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Please, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, from the Cinefanatics, Mr. Robert Adams. Dude, what is up? How have you been since we last saw you?
First of all, not much and pretty good. Just busy working pretty much. Work, grind. Yeah, usual.
Yeah, sounds about right. And it is kind of a shame that even though according to the thumbnail, the episode is called Nico's Traumas, and he's not here to even talk about his trauma of all things cyborg and robot, but it is what it is. We'll still have a great conversation in his absence. But before we obviously get into all that fun stuff, I'm just gonna say this right now. No spoiler alert for the Schmoedown match that dropped today, but I'll be damned if this thing is not a match of the year contender.
Ooh,
It is. It definitely is.
It is. I don't think Case and I could have felt possibly more emotional, more hyped going into this thing, and we couldn't feel more hyped coming out of it. So that's about all the more I'm going to say on that topic. And of course, look, I think we need to rip off the Band-Aid just a little bit about something that happened earlier in the week real fast. We got in a little bit of trouble because, some accidental mistakes were made during our reaction to the match between Andrew DiLamonta and Laura Kelly. And luckily we patched things up with Andrew. We admitted to our mistake. We made our apologies all around the table. And this is actually where I want to make a little thing to you guys. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to actually hit up Andrew and tell him what a great job he did in the match, and see if we can maybe get a little bit of rally support to actually have him come on the show, just to talk. Talk about Star Wars, talk about what that process of actually going through the audition was like to get on the Schmoedown, because I can imagine it was anything but easy. If our stories with Smets are anything to base off of. So that's all I'm really going to ask from you guys this week, besides just enjoy the conversation, enjoy the show. And that said,
And
hashtag China Sticks. So let's get into it. Let's get into some movie news. Let's talk about some shit going on. Mandalorian. Case, we're quite excited for this show.
No,
not at all. Not in the slightest, right?
Dude, of course, this is not a question.
But did you get a chance to check out the final trailer with what was it, like 10 or so new shots that we hadn't seen before?
Exactly. It's pretty much the same as the first one. Who cares? We're gonna see it already. We know that. This last trailer, yeah. Honestly, if you want to hear my thoughts, go back to our reaction that we did with Chandru.
Fair enough. But Robert, to be fair, I actually haven't had a chance to check out any of your guys' reactions to The Mandalorian. So what is your hype level looking like for the first ever live action Star Wars TV show?
So here's where we're kind of torn, because we're basically trying to keep the channel pretty much just movie oriented. So that kind of means you cut out like any like really good things that happen in pop culture, like I don't know, a freaking Star Wars show that's going to be streaming on Netflix, or not Netflix,
Disney Plus. Yeah.
Sorry, Disney Plus. So I would say it's pretty high up there. We've seen the trailers. It looks really good. My only reservation on it is I'm not a huge fan of like the Star Wars side stories they've been doing, the Rogue One and Solo.
Yeah,
I mean, Rogue One was a good movie, but I'm still just I don't know. Like I'm having a hard time just breaking away from the main saga.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that'll affect my perception of watching The Mandalorian, but The Mandalorian does look really good, and I do like Boba Fett, even though I know it's not him. It's still his armor, essentially, the armor style. So I kind of like what they might be doing with that. Good cast, looks fantastic. Eager to see everything that Disney Plus is going to give, because that's going to be a fantastic deal for anyone who signed up for that immediately. So.
Absolutely. And Girth, I'm glad to see that Skynet did not take over your body, a la Matt Smith and Terminator Genisys. So that's good. That's good. Glad to hear you're okay.
Can we please not call him Girth? That's like people having problems with the word moist. Like, no.
Hey, Lily.
Yes. Okay, side tangent here. Do you guys actually know anybody who does get sort of bothered by the word moist?
No.
I don't think my brother likes it too much.
No, like, yeah, Lily in How I Met Your Mother for some reason has an issue with it. I don't know why.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, so obviously we're excited for it. And glad to see everyone's doing okay. And I think maybe what I'll have to do is, since we're doing StreamYard for the rest of the show, if you guys have anything like you wanna highlight as far as opinions on the stuff we're talking about, by all means, put them in the chat, and I'll actually do that thing that people do where you highlight shit and be like, "Oh, hey, that's an interesting point," Jonathan Peck or Garth Murray or K Wolf. So yeah. Now this next story I want to talk about, it's just something, it's dumb fun for me, because as someone who really respects the actress Jane Fonda, even if I don't necessarily like everything that she's been in, but that said, the fact that you received one of the most prestigious awards from the British Academy of Film while being arrested for protesting.
You mean this extras?
Yeah. But being arrested while receiving one of the most prestigious awards from the British Academy for protesting the British Prime Minister for essentially doing what Trump's doing as far as climate change is concerned. You know what? Round of applause, Jane Fonda. Round of freaking applause. Accepting the award in the middle of getting arrested. I'm sorry. That is fucking cool in my book. Robert, you hear this story. What are your thoughts? I'm curious.
I mean, like, that's one of those few things that, like, there's a certain echelon of, I guess, like, celebrity that could pull something like that off. And she's definitely in that category. Let's not also forget the fact that today's Friday. So, once again, she's been arrested for the fourth Friday in a row today. This is what she's doing, her need to help support, to rally for a cause that she really believes in, and it's causing her to be arrested every single Friday. This is the fourth one in a row. So yeah, I mean, good on her for sticking to her beliefs and like what she wants to do. That's just funny, though.
I know, right? Case, I'm sure you're not necessarily familiar with Miss Fonda's work, but simultaneously, how funny is that situation?
It's funny. I have no thoughts. I have nothing to say.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Then there is something that I think you will have some thoughts on. And initially, I thought you were going to be upset, or maybe a little just really wanting to rip into these guys, but you seem to be more of in a celebratory mood over what is arguably the most inescapable news story of the week. That is Benioff and Weiss trilogy no longer happening. Case.
Yes!
No.
Yes! Fuck yes! Honestly, when these guys were announced, I was like, that's a choice you can make. Then Game of Thrones season 8 comes out, and I'm like, oh shit, Star Wars is so fucked. Okay, and then it gets announced that they're not making the trilogy. Thank Christ, because I might love Game of Thrones, but that's probably because they were very good at adapting the source material that George wrote for them, rather than actually making their own thing. Because since season 5, I haven't really loved Game of Thrones as much as the first 4 seasons, and that's because while season 5 is still based on a book, they already are going in a direction that where they need to write the show by themselves, and then you get season 6, 7, and 8. Well, I think 6 is decent enough. Already there are glaring issues. There are plot holes. There are, no main character deaths, which was something that all the previous seasons did. And then, 7 is there, and 8 is, by everyone regarded as the worst season, I think. So then I also look into more of what Mr. Benioff wrote. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Did anyone like that movie? Troy, which I haven't seen, but I haven't heard that great things about.
I like it.
At least not in terms of script. And one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I heard that one episode is not one of the good ones. So yeah, these guys can't write for shit. I feel, and I'm very glad they're not touching Star Wars.
So I suppose you could make it sound like there is a little bit of a felony being committed here, and that this was completely stolen out from under Benioff and Weiss, Robert?
It's actually just commenting on Tyler's comment.
Yeah.
I guess. So I'm probably one of the few people on the planet who've never actually watched Game of Thrones. So I don't know what their level of involvement was. Like, I don't know if they were only involved in the 8th season, which I've heard is just complete crap. But yeah, they were involved with X-Men Origins Wolverine. That just does not bode well. And it's actually probably really good that they dropped out of Star Wars.
So I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So I dropped off at apparently the perfect place to drop off at that, and that was the end of season 4.
Yep.
I'd always meant to go back and finish, and one day when I will truly, get through it all, because I'm sure I'll have my problems with it, or maybe I'll like a lot of it. I don't know, but once I get there, I'll get there. But I was curious to see what they were going to bring to the table, because I had heard for a long time that their trilogy was going to be essentially the origins of the Jedi and the Sith. And the way that I felt as someone who really loved those first 4 seasons, as people who really could navigate storytelling of a lot of different characters in a short amount of time, I actually felt that they had a shot of really doing something special here. Now, Do I think they also could have crapped the bed? Oh, easily. They easily could have crapped the bed, but we will never know now, unfortunately, as apparently they had quit back in May, back when all the hoopla over season 8 was in full effect. So I actually don't think they quit.
They were fired.
I really do think they were fired.
Yeah,
which don't need you guys' services.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, but that makes perfect sense because the reason they brought him on at the time, Game of Thrones season 8 was not being released and not close to being released, but it was essentially a wake up call for everyone. Like, oh yeah, these two writers write Game of Thrones, and let's make that announcement again. And then everyone at Lucasfilm saw season 8 of Game of Thrones, and they were like, I think we can do better. We have Dave Filoni. We have Benioff, Weiss. We love you guys. You're great guys, but we're not gonna let you make our movies. Okay.
And then they turn around and they're like, hold on a second. Rian Johnson, are you available to come back?
And that's where I'm glad we can take this now, because that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen in its place.
Well, because the opinion, though, is The Last Jedi is probably not that much better than, I guess, season 8 of Game of Thrones. That might be like really bad.
Way better.
Okay.
It is way better.
Well, at least in terms of this particular panel. Sure, we love The Last Jedi, and we understand there are people who, it didn't work for, and that's fine. Star Wars isn't for everyone. But this does then start getting me to wonder, what is Rian going to do then? Is he going to actually take the reins, and is he going to really do this? Because a lot of the conversation that I have been noticing, even from people who didn't like The Last Jedi, is they still want to see what Rian Johnson can do in the Star Wars universe. They just didn't like what he did with the characters that we all grew up with. And that's absolutely what I want to see as well. I want to see him really dive into other parts of the galaxy and shit. If his story is still First Jedi, how the Jedi Order came to be, how the Sith Order came to be, we can end this trilogy with Jedi and Sith big ass battle. Yes, please. So that's the one takeaway that I can see is a positive from this in my opinion, still unfortunate news. Did we have any other final thoughts on this before we move on to the next topic? Okay.
I guess I need to watch Game of Thrones and just skip the. Oh no, hold on. That did remind me. I was thinking this earlier while y'all were talking. If they were, you said that it was the idea was they were going to do a trilogy of like the origin of the Jedi. That sounds like something to be more up like, say, Peter Jackson's alley. If you could imagine Peter Jackson doing something in regards to that, because I mean, at that point, you're probably not so much like Star Wars, in which you're going across the galaxy and showing this planet, that planet. It's probably something that's going to be more close knit, because the Jedi is, for all intents and purposes, a very small type of group-based religion type of thing, possibly. And that would make more sense to have something like that be like centered on maybe one planet, one idea. That might be a good way to start that off. And I could see Peter Jackson maybe being the jumping point from that. And then maybe it expands more across the galaxy along the lines of, like, say, the Lord of the Rings movies that expanded beyond just, say, the Shire at the beginning and was it Rivendell or whatever, that they went like across all of Middle Earth. And this is the extent of my Lord of the Rings knowledge, by the way, that I'm sharing with y'all, because that's about it as far as what I can talk about. But something to that effect, that kind of epicness and scope, I think would fit Peter Jackson's telling of that kind of story. And I would actually be really eager to see that, even though I'm still not a huge Lord of the Rings or Hobbit fan.
We agree on the Hobbit.
Ooh, actually, well, so, okay, Garth brings up an interesting point where, that might be why they wanted Benioff and Weiss for more of a medieval kind of world with instead of, traditional swords. That was where like we started getting lightsabers and whatnot. Garth, you might be onto something there, but again, unfortunately, now we will never know. But that's okay.
We're probably okay with that, and probably better off.
Probably.
Look, I think if they're gonna do this, then they definitely need better people. And I think look, Lucasfilm is full of talented people, and can someone, I don't know who, but someone give Dave Filoni a trilogy of movies? Like, please.
Yes. Now that I can fuck with, absolutely. Unlike this one thing that I can't fuck with, which is going to be our last story of the night. So, okay. Guys, if you know this song, sing along. Grab your popcorn and grab your drinks because it's rap time!
Here we go.
Here we go
again.
Yes, we do. So I'm from the great state of Minnesota. One of our biggest contributing factors, at least in terms of the United States of America, is we are the home of Delta Airlines. They're nifty. They're reasonably priced. I can get from here to New York for a certain good rate. I could fly from here to LA at a good certain rate. Let's say I wanted to go visit you down in Texas, Robert. I could actually get a decent rate to go down there. And
why haven't you come here? Jeez, dude.
I plan to next year. I will absolutely come down there and visit you guys. Sure. But apparently I can't watch my favorite movie of the year on Delta without having, arguably one of the best scenes, one of the funniest scenes, certainly removed. Delta, fuck you. Let's just put it simply. You guys are real homophobes. You know that? You're real fucking homophobes.
Okay, and, can you first say what your favorite movie of the year is?
Yes. My favorite movie of the year so far is Olivia Wilde's directorial debut, Booksmart.
Yes.
I fucking love this movie. Like, and the reason I love it so much is because if I actually had to write a movie based on my last day in high school, that's pretty much it. Minus, minus me.
Minus puking over a girl.
Minus puking over a girl because, I know how to handle my liquor. But, one of the best scenes in that movie is when the character of Amy, she has this crush on this one girl. And she finally works up the nerve to actually talk to her. And they actually start to hit it off. And they even go to the bathroom to have sex. Awesome. Cool. And of course, some shenanigans ensue. And she winds up puking on her in the middle of trying to scissor. And it's hilarious. But, Delta, why you gotta be fucking homophobes about taking out that scene? Why you gotta be that way? Oh, that's right. Because, we can show sex scenes of same-sex couples, but to show opposite-sex couples, but to show a same-sex couple is just in poor taste. Fuck you!
I think it was more of they just didn't want to show people puking while people are riding on an airplane.
That might also be something.
Now, I'd love it if that was, Delta's defense, but they didn't even fucking say that. When, again, when director Olivia Wilde just fucking let them have it. See, now, okay, Garth, actually, for once, I'll agree with this. If you're gonna show the movie, show the fucking movie, or don't bother. If you're gonna be like, we just couldn't get the rights to it, you can make up bullshit like that, and that's fine. But if you're gonna have the movie, don't just fucking edit it out. just because, oh, well, it's two women having sex and we can't show that because, well, what if little kids see that and what if it confuses them? Okay, what's wrong with people who are attracted to the same sex? Jesus Christ. I mean, shit. Last week we had Whitney Seibel on the show. The man is bisexual. Do I judge him for it? Fuck no. I say, hey, good for you, man. But no, well, we just can't be confusing all the young kids, which is what they might as well have said because they're very, very lackluster defense of everything that Miss Wilde brought to their attention. Yeah, she's clearly in the right. Just saying. Oh, Brian Nussbaum, thank you. Now, Case, I know you're not a fan of the scene of Elton John and John Reed having sex in Rocket Man, but if that was edited out of the movie just for an airline,
yeah, that's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Look, it's just a little weird for me to see Rob Stark and Eggsy get it on. Like that's just in my own head canon. Like, this is weird, but it was a good scene.
Yeah. So and like Delta, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
So I didn't actually read on the story, but what I'm wondering is, and completely possible still in this day and age, was that edited out just because they didn't want to put, or thinking that they could have potentially offend other people? Like if you're watching, say, Booksmart, you're typically watching that on the little screen that's on the back of the headrest in front of you. Mm-hmm. You're watching that, and who knows, there might be someone's kid sitting in the seat next to you, and that person's parent may not want their kid to look over and see that, just based off of their beliefs and what they want, which, I mean, regardless of, again, this day and age and what should be and shouldn't be, that parent still has the right to raise their kid however they want.
Of course. We
don't judge them for that type of thing yet. But yes. I'm wondering, so what I'm wondering is in this idea, would say when Booksmart eventually airs on network television, are they still going to edit that scene out just because, regardless of the fact that it's two women, it is still like a sex scene. You can't really show that on TV. And then you bring into question, well, okay, are they going to not show it because it is a woman on woman sex scene? You can't show that. And I haven't seen Booksmart and I have seen Rocket Man. I would assume that at least the one in Rocket Man probably was not shown for that specific reason, because that is pretty a graphic scene. But yes, yeah. I would put that on par with, like, even if you were to show a man and woman having sex, that would probably still get edited out for that exact reason.
No, look, if you have any type of like R-rated movie, because Booksmart is R-rated, then you have to show it late, and then I think it would be okay. So yeah, indeed, if you were to show that in a plane where kids could be watching, that might not be the best call, because the movie, besides using that language, yeah, it's graphic. It has people having sex. It has people puking on each other and stuff like that. Might not be the best thing to show on a plane where kids are present.
Which, okay, and from that perspective, that is 100% fair. And John Sorashiro is actually one of my coworkers from work. Hi, how are you doing? It was not an international airline. It was not on an international flight where this happened. This was domestic, a domestic flight where this happened. Which, yes, now on an international flight, I can get that. But I'm going to be 100% fair here. I've, in some of my excuse me, on some of the flights I've had over the last couple of years, I've watched R-rated movies that had sex scenes and nudity on the and there wasn't a problem.
Okay, well, that's different then.
So I'm sorry. Then I'm gonna call this one out because, yeah. It's one of those cases where I think it either should be everybody gets censored or nobody gets censored.
That's true.
So that's why I just feel like it's really unfair to, people of same-sex relationships or heterosexual relationships, either show it all or don't show it, or don't get the movie. don't offer the movie if you're not going to show the fucking movie. That's essentially what it comes down to for me.
Like it would be for me, like if someone is like if an airliner with very long flight time would say, "We're showing Lord of the Rings, yay!" That's the theatrical version. Okay, then no bother.
Yeah, kinda. All right. So the shade's coming off now. I did have another story about basically Marvel just saying that they're gonna wait another 10 years before they do another like Infinity War level movie. Which yes, good. That means build up, as you should.
DC.
Yeah, take notes. DC, Star Wars, Dark Universe.
Any franchise.
Yeah. But we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. And as soon as we get back, we're going to talk about some robots. And not the real type that are, mousy overlords and everyone else seems to be. But guys, please do not go anywhere. We shall see you right back as soon as I get this stupid thing started. Perfect. Here we go.
I like the fact that Richard did bring up the fact of the match quality, but didn't quite do as much as what the question was kind of alluding to, as to what you show a non-wrestling fan to get them into the wrestling. Whereas Nico, while he didn't do much of it, I think he did enough to kind of prove his point. So I'm going to have to agree with Cody, and I'm going to have to award this point to Nico. And the celebration.
Excuse me for one moment.
Is he going to jump into a pool?
I don't know. He's going to do something.
And wait.
He's got a belt. He's got a belt. I can't. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Deftones to me has always been one of those bands who's had an album for every step of my life, and I love that they are just this old band, perfectly set from like my time span of being alive. In that, whenever I was listening to White Pony for the first time, all of that had very like everything is teenage angsty titles in their own song. Like it's literally made for me at my teenage years and even like my younger years as I was listening to it. So then 2003 hits. That's when Deftones, the self-titled album, drops. That is me at 13. That is me with 3 Days Grace's first album, emo, cringy, hardcore teenager. And Deftones self-titled hits that perfectly with that tone. I was so angry, and it had so much raw scream. Hexagram is just 4 minutes of screaming straight. Just raw, visceral screaming and stuff like that. And a lot of the rest of it just had some nice, sad, melancholy notes that I think just lands perfectly for that teenage angst feeling I was at. So self-titled, for a very long explanation, is my number 3.
Have any of you lost a relative or a friend to cancer?
Raising hands. I don't know if we're supposed to be raising hands. I'm clicking right now, but I'll assume.
Yeah. Yes. Fair enough. And I myself actually have lost 2 grandparents. My grandmother on my mom's side to ovarian cancer back in 2011, and I lost my grandfather on my dad's side to prostate cancer in 2015. And I'll just say this, that it freaking sucks. And it sucks when you feel so powerless that you don't even know how you're supposed to help, how you're supposed to cope. You don't know how you're supposed to, feel. Even when it's not you, even if it's just someone that you're close to, it's impossible just to wrap your head around that. And I totally forgot. I just found out that my uncle got diagnosed about a month ago with lung cancer, already in stage 4. So I guess I gotta say, Dylan, actually, thank you for inviting me on this chat to tell cancer, hey, fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
You, you horrible fucking thing. Which actually, okay, you know what? Hold on. I know we're going long enough, but you know what? I don't care. Here, how about this? Name me a couple of people that you could honestly see as a manager next season. Then.
Okay. Josh McCouga. Look, as entertaining as the Wildberries are, they're not in the top 10, and that means that they're going to be split up next season because, they're just not good enough. But McCouga, I mean, the guy has energy for 10 people, and he could easily lead a team like with his silliness on camera, where the team can just focus on not being that silly because they got McCouga for that. Devon would be another one. I feel. Other than that, from the top of my head, I don't know. What do you have?
I'll actually I'll double down on your McCouga, but I'll also say if Roca either doesn't win the team match or doesn't win his next singles match,
right.
I think he finally hangs up the towel and becomes a manager. Because he's not going to leave. He's never going to leave the Schmoedown.
No, he's not going to leave the Schmoedown, but I do think, I do agree that Roca is probably done with competing, but you can't have him leave the Schmoedown.
No.
So him as a manager, that would be gold.
Okay, and we are back on the second half of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. And apparently the break didn't quite work like it was supposed to. Awesome. That's fine. What are you gonna do? Oh no! Here's the thing. In our private chat here in the conversation, Robert's giving me a little worried that another certain channel that we may or may not be in a rivalry with might be like, oh wow, Dohmen and them are just stealing our thing. Well, no, this was kind of a last second sort of desperate move just to finish this show. But what are you gonna do?
Although I will say that when Cinefanatic starts live streaming here pretty soon, when we hit 1,000 subscribers, thank you for the quick plug, we will probably also use StreamYard because that other reactor channel, who shall remain nameless on here, is using it. And it looks like it works pretty well, so I kind of like it. So, yeah, we're probably just going to use it too.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not that they have a copyright claim on it or anything.
Exactly. Although, by God, would I love to see Spence try. I would love to see him try. But yes.
Make him squirm.
So first, our case, you mentioned Belgian beer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff. The good stuff. Because, listen, I'd like to propose a toast to the member of the channel who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. We have to bust his chops a little bit. Because, look, Nico, we love you. You are just as much a member of this channel as Kees or I. But, and listen, your fear towards cyborgs and robots and whatnot is understandable, but come on, man. Come on.
But they took their jobs.
They took their jobs.
Nico.
It's fine.
That's just mean.
He knows we love him. But what are you gonna do?
You're a fucking pussy, Nico.
But yeah, so robots. What is it about them that we love in movies? Is it because they serve a great allegory? Is it because they serve a purpose beyond just cleaning and whatnot or fighting our wars for us? Or is it because they can draw out certain primal things within us? They can be used to tell incredible stories. Like, for example, maybe a Terminator or a Metropolis or a Matrix or an iRobot. And that's what we're definitely going to get into tonight. So
I would actually say that sometimes robots, having a robot character or an android or a cyborg, can make humanity realize things about themselves that they normally wouldn't. Because there are some robots who strive to be human, and that teaches every human character with them to be more human. And some robots go crazy, and they try to get rid of the humans because, you know, humans are illogical, stupid beings who should probably not live. So yeah, like I love the concept of having robots that can actually give more of a perspective on life.
So, like, with that kind of argument, I would agree that if you look back, I would actually venture to say that R2-D2 is probably more human than most humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like K-Wolf said.
But we're not talking about Star Wars today.
Because I left it to you guys, and I asked you all if we should include Star Wars, because Case and I were actually super on the fence about that. Because, seriously, we could have a podcast episode about just the droids in Star Wars.
Yes.
So, you guys voted. Majority of you said, save it for another time. That's what we're going to do. And, or might save it for a different show.
Can I at least add that, like, if you want to talk about, like, robots that are human, I don't think there's any robot that's more human than, what was it, like the Gonk droid in Star Wars that was turned upside down that was getting its feet burned and it was screaming in pain? I mean, come on. All right, that's enough of the Star Wars.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong. You are not wrong. Actually, and you know what? Speaking of robots that want to be more human, let's start the conversation with arguably the most famous android in all of Star Trek, Lieutenant Commander Data. You know, Case, start us off.
I adore Data. He might. It gets way too much in Generations with his motion chip, and that's
Generations.
I'm so fine with Generations. It's such a bland movie because there are some good things and there are some bad things, and one of the bad things is the emotion chip makes Data into a caricature that I'm not a big fan of. But on the other hand, one of the reasons that First Contact is my favorite Star Trek movie is because they really get into Data as like, what does it mean to be an android who strives to be more human? And you get the Borg as well to challenge that, because the Borg have a different perspective on him as what it means to be a perfect type of being, where you have the mixture of being human but also being cybernetic, having robot parts. And they get into it, and it's just done so interestingly. And I just love how Picard, because Picard is my favorite Star Trek character, but Data is one of my favorites because you can't have Picard without Data, because Data teaches Picard time and time again what it means to be human, what it means to, make decisions in life. And it's just awesome to see that dynamic between the two. I think Brent Spiner performs Data extremely well, for the most part at least, where you truly believe he's an android. He's not a human, despite the fact that he strives to be human. I love Data.
Robert?
I absolutely love Generations. So me and my brother, we grew up, our parents were Trekkies. So on Saturday night, before I was a teenager and I actually had the ability to go out and go get into all kinds of trouble myself, we'll save that for another, maybe our own live stream. But before that time, Saturday night was we all sit down around the TV, eat dinner, and watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. So out of all the Star Wars characters, Star Trek, those were the ones that I essentially grew up on. It was by force, but I mean, because of that, I do have a certain love for these characters, and I loved Data in Generations, just solely based on that one scene with him in, was it 10 Forward, where he was trying the drink for the first time, and
I do like that one. That's probably the one good scene that he has in there.
I hate this. And guys, it looks like he hates it. He's like, yes, I hate that. It's revolting. Another, please. That was hilarious. That was probably that. Oh, I'm trying to remember all the things that Data. The one I really liked actually, and again, as a kid watching Generations, was when the Enterprise was about to crash, and the camera is panning across the entire crew on the bridge, and it just lands on Data, and Data's like, "Oh
shit!"
And it was just hilarious because you didn't hear that language in the TV show. So I do like Data. I love the way that when they tried to explore his humanity, and they did it on the TV show a couple of times too, because he had a couple of episodes that were very like focused on him.
I actually just watched one where he is Sherlock Holmes. I really like that one.
That was a good one. There was another one that took place, and I sorry, I'm going to miss the details, but he was with his father,
Dr. Nunez Sung. Yep.
Yeah, and I think his brother Lore was also
Lore.
Yeah, was also in it, and like the whole episode just took place at the house that he grew up in. I'm tired of using air quotes on this, but I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. So, I mean, there was a lot of those that Data was a major focus. I think he was the human focus of that show. While everyone else was free to think and talk whatever they want based on their own upbringing, Data was the one that brought the humanity back to each episode and into the movies. Again, like Generations and First Contact. So I really love Data.
Garth, you said it perfectly. Data is Pinocchio in space.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's not even, you know, and that's what's so great about him is that like he's so curious. He just wants to understand, you know, what is it about the human condition that makes it so worth it for the rest of us meatbags? And you know,
meatbags.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, except for when in Insurrection he tries to be a kid, and it's stupid as shit.
It's stupid as shit, and we just don't talk about that movie.
No,
but that's one of the brilliant things about a character like Data, who is the perfect conduit for the lessons that Roddenberry and the crew and the writers were trying to get across throughout the show. And Kees, you'll especially notice this in what is one of my favorite episodes in all of Trek. You are coming up on Measure of a Man, and that thing is going to rock you to the goddamn core.
Yeah, I saw it. It's the highest rated episode on IMDb so far at a 9.1, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not like super overhyping it, but
I'm already hyped on that episode.
Good.
I haven't even seen it yet.
Good. You know, and that's the kind of simplistic brilliance that only someone like Roddenberry and the writing staff could come up with for a show as innovative as Next Gen. And yeah, dear God, First Contact is in my top 3 because of Data. Like, sure, the stuff with, you know, the stuff on the ground with
Cochrane.
With Cochrane, that's all fun. You know, that's all good and dandy. You know, the stuff with Picard and Alfred Woodard's character, you know, yeah, again, that's all fun. That's all good and dandy. But Data is what makes that damn movie.
Like every time they cut back to the Borg Queen and Data, you're like, this is why you watch this movie.
Yes. You know,
I do like Cochrane's. I gotta go take a leak, and Geordi's like, leak? I don't detect a leak.
I don't detect a leak. What, don't you guys pee in the future? Oh.
That'll do, pig.
Oh my God! Why did he not say that? In the movie?
Oh my, yeah.
Actually, you know what? Okay, super random side tangent. That movie was nominated for Best Picture, and thank God for it. I love Babe. Anyway, but let's start to move away from Data, and I just feel like I have to give a little bit of love to arguably the first true robot in cinema. I'm going to go all the way back to 1927 to Germany with a little film called Metropolis. Oh my God. Almost 100 years later, and that thing still looks awesome. And the best part is, she went on to inspire so many other robots. She went on to inspire Calculon from Futurama. She went on to inspire C-3PO. She went on to inspire, dear God, name it. Name a robot. She went to inspire the Cyberman in Doctor Who. And trust me, I'll mention them before this show is over. I can promise you that. But who would have thought that when Fritz Lang was putting that story together, he would have created a robot that could have essentially stood the test of time as well as it has. So, yeah, thank you. But, Robert, throw one to the table. Bring one in.
So I'll go straight to the point, because the reason that we're talking about robots is for one specific, the reason we're talking about robots today on this episode is for one specific reason, and that's because we have yet another sequel to Terminator that's currently in the movie theater. So I will bring up the Terminator robots because there's different versions of them. But I think it's one that a lot of people connect with because it was a robot that was originally brought in during the 80s. And the 80s was a very massive time for movies. It was where we saw a nice, I would say, move from what could be considered B-movie schlock into an A type of movie. And I think Terminator was one of the ones that really brought that out. Because if you would have done Terminator, I mean, special effects aside, if you would have done the story of Terminator 5 years before it originally came out, you would probably be talking about a B movie. Like, it's not a movie that anyone would go rush out to the theater to see. And yeah, so that came out, and that revitalized not only what we would consider an A-class movie, but also it really helped jumpstart Cameron's career because I believe he had only done like Piranha 2.
Yeah.
And then now we've got a franchise that's still going, not necessarily going strong, but it's still going to this day. So here's the thing, I kind of want to talk about Terminator Dark Fate. My brother and I saw it last night. I know both of you two have not seen it, and I don't know if anyone in the chat has seen it yet. So I'm going to keep spoilers completely out of this. But I believe the Terminator, while the Terminator is kind of pigeonholed into a certain idea, there is the overarching story that humans are going to cause machines to rise up. We create this AI, the machines take over, and we basically create our own downfall. And then there's the time travel element that the humans and the machines are sending robots back in time, or humans in the case of Kyle Reese, back in time to help stop that future from happening. That's the overarching story of Terminator. And all of the Terminator movies are some form of that. So that's why I said, while you're pigeonholed into that story, within the context of that idea, those robots are still massively important because they are the center focal point, hence why the movies are named after them. And for it being such a small idea for the most part, I really like how they have fleshed out the robots in that. No pun intended.
Oh, no, pun fully intended. But that's why, especially once we get to Terminator 2, that's why it worked so well. Like, yes, never mind the fact that so many of the action set pieces are still great. We go back to that movie because we love the T-800. Because he's the perfect father figure for what John Connor needs at that point in his life. He's a symbol of authority that can, hold on, Case. Hold on. I'll let you gush. I'll let you gush in a moment. He's a symbol of authority that John needs in his life after, losing his mother to the mental asylum. And the T-1000 is fucking great. All right, Case.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say, like what I especially love about the first and the second, because I watched both this week. In the first one, Arnold's Terminator model is the bad one, and Kyle Reese is the protector. And you don't actually find out who is who up until the club scene where Kyle Reese goes up to Sarah and says, "Come with me if you want to live," and the Terminator is full on trying to kill her. Because, yes, before that we do see the Terminator try to kill the other Sarah Connors, but we don't know what Reese's deal is really, and we don't know what will happen. But then it gets clearer. And then what I love in the second one is that moment that Sarah is almost out of the asylum. She runs up to the elevator, and what comes out? Arnold's Terminator, and she's like, "Oh no, 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 it's happening again." But that's actually the good one, because the bad one is the T-1000, which is just everything about the T-1000. Like, yeah, T2 is my favorite movie of all time. I adore this movie. It is phenomenal, and that's mostly because some of the visual effects in this movie, I'm like, this is some of the best visual effects in cinema history. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
like, it looks so good. Like, just scene alone where he rises up from the floor, it's like, what the fuck am I watching? This looks amazing. You cannot find those effects these days, really. And like that's what makes it, like, the T-1000 is just iconic for visual effects, but also because I think Robert Patrick portrays him well. They made him a little, like, yeah, in every way more advanced. And as you say, now suddenly you have the father figure for John Connor, and you have that moment that Sarah realizes that out of all the people she's been with over the years, this is the one father figure that John needs, that will always stick true with him, will never do anything against John, because that's just how he's programmed. And there's also a scene in the movie which I hate to cut out, but at least it's in the director's cut, which I always watch, when they take out the chip out of Arnold's head, and Sarah actually tries to slam a hammer on it, and John is like, "No, we're not doing that. I want to keep this one." And like the progression throughout the movie of John and Sarah coming to terms that this Arnold model of the Terminator, the T-800, is probably the best guardian you could probably have. It's amazing. Then you have sequels, and I will say one thing about the sequels. Kristanna Loken as the TX is awesome. I love her, and I think there are a lot of things that they do with her in T3 that they haven't done in the first two movies. Like a full-on fight between the TX and the T-800 in the bathroom, which is just awesome. Just them smashing the ever-living crap out of each other without doing anything to each other, really. It's just awesome to see that. From a visual perspective, from an action perspective. So at least they did new things with her Terminator in T3, despite the movie not being that great. But that's mostly because of John Connor, because Nick Stahl as John Connor, that didn't work. I hope the new one is good, because I haven't liked the Terminator movie since 2.
Well, I will tell you, as someone who's seen it, it's pretty good. It definitely lives up and far surpasses some of the other sequels that we have gotten. There's some faults with it, but I'm still working on our Terminator review, so that'll be up on our channel sometime, probably tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Check it out when it comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. Free plug for Robert and the City of Fanatics. Go check out their Terminator Dark Fate review whenever it drops. And subscribe to them if you haven't already. They're a great channel. I enjoy watching their content from time to time. Case, is there a particular robot you'd like to bring up that hasn't been mentioned yet?
Yes. One of my favorite animated movies of all time is WALL-E, and that's because of WALL-E. First of all, let's just get the obvious out of the way. Ben Burtt is a sound god, and he can't do no wrong. Because seriously, what he has done on Star Wars is already amazing. But then he also did all the sounds for WALL-E, and he voiced the character. And the most phenomenal thing about this movie is that for for a whole lot of this movie, there's no talking because Wally can't really speak. He can only really say his name. Eva can't really speak. She can only really say her name. But you believe these two robots. You believe that they are, they're cute together. You care about them throughout the entirety of the movie. At the end, I cry because Wally almost dies. Spoiler alert for a 10-year-old movie, 11. And yeah, it's just heartwarming, and especially I adore the opening where it just shows how the world has become. Because this is also one of the movies where we have seen dystopian futures. We have seen futures where robots have taken over. We have seen all that kind of stuff, but not for kids. And Wall-E is that for kids, and that I think is a great message for a lot of kids to get introduced to something like that. Where, hey, what if the future isn't all that great, and we actually are away from Earth because Earth has become well, at least they believe it's infertile. At the end, they found out it's not. But yeah, I think Wally and Eva, they both should be mentioned for this movie because they make this movie.
Absolutely. I don't really have much else to add on to other than the fact that Wall-E's one of those rare movies where I actually believe that two characters who can't really speak to each other actually fall in love, and it's just through their actions. And that's impressive. That is really freaking impressive to see that. So, yeah. Oh God, hold on, Garth. What's this? Okay, still want to cut a music video with scenes from Wall-E with Eve shut down, and the song is "Girlfriend in a Coma" by the Smiths. Oh God, no Morrissey, bad, no Morrissey.
Oh, what's wrong with Morrissey? Never mind.
I was gonna say, you better ask another question again there, Robert.
This will be my last time on the dedicated to art Who Cares Anyway podcast.
Nonsense. Hell, maybe if we ever revive a certain music show on the channel, maybe we'll have you on. We'll talk some Smiths.
You don't have to. I mean, it's okay.
Oh, here, how about this then? We'll talk some Pink Floyd.
That'll work.
There you go.
We can do Pink Floyd and Linkin Park.
Damn right. But no, Robert, do you got any thoughts on Wall-E?
No.
All right. Fair enough.
Haven't seen it. Thank you for me to admit that.
No, that's fine.
Just watch it. It's awesome.
I need to.
I need to rewatch it, admittedly. Mostly for trivia studying, but still.
Gotcha.
And there's another one that I actually do want to bring up, but Kees, I know you're definitely gonna want to talk about this guy, so I'll let you get to him when you come back to it.
I don't know, just mention him.
No, you'll definitely want to talk about David. So again,
okay.
I'll hold off.
Yeah.
I'll hold off on that one for a moment. But I did mention. So we talked about Star Trek. We talked about Data and the Borg Queen and whatnot. I want to talk about some robots that inspired the Borg. And while technically speaking, they are TV originally, they do still count because they have been in movies. And I'm, of course, just because I have to get this out there, I'm talking about the Daleks and the Cybermen from Doctor Who. I'm sorry, but both of these guys are real freaking terrifying. Like, and sure, design as stupid as they look. What's the whole thing with the Cybermen? They just have one function. You will be upgraded or you will be deleted.
We are the dialects.
We are the Daleks.
Yeah.
Exterminate. Again, that's kind of terrifying. Like the fact that you have, robot Nazis and you have robot viruses that literally only seek to either upgrade you or completely destroy you. And you have no choice in the matter. dear God, that is terrifying. And it's awesome. You know, especially when, oh, wait, what happens when you shoot a Cyberman dead? Okay, you can shoot one. You can shoot one. But then the next one, oh, shit, it's adapted.
They've adapted.
They shoot the next one.
I knew it.
Yes. You know, and again, I'm not saying this to besmirch the Borg because they're just as awesome. But yes, they did get the idea from Doctor Who, and there's no shame in that.
Look, it's one thing to do the idea. It's another thing to completely rip it off. I think the Borg did their own thing.
Exactly. And that's why, like, you know, again, both are fucking awesome. And frankly speaking, the fact that we haven't had a fan film yet of the Cybermen versus the Borg.
I feel like the Borg would win.
You know, you might be right. And I think they'd only win just because they have that little bit of organic matter to them.
Like because they're human.
Yeah.
That adds to them.
Exactly. Whereas the Cybermen, they want to destroy what's human inside them to become the perfect machine. And it's the same thing with the Daleks. Like, if you're going back to some of the old school Doctor Who, you find out that the Daleks, sure, they're that stupid tin salt pepper shaker with the whisk and the toilet plunger on their arms, but they were once humans, and they just wanted to become better killing machines. So, yeah, I just had to gush that out because I love it. All right. Kees, talk to me about David.
Yeah, David. Look, opinions on Prometheus and Covenant aside, because while Prometheus is overall liked, it does have a few people who don't like it, and Covenant is a lot more of an issue in that regard. The best part, by far, bar none, is David, played by Michael Fassbender, and I think perfectly. And I actually think David might be my favorite android in the entire Alien franchise. I'm sorry, Bishop. Lance Henriksen as Bishop, you're great. But I think David is a little bit better because this is once again android cyborg type of character who realizes, wait, humans aren't all that great. Humans are flawed. I need to better this. And that's what he does. And I absolutely love how he goes about it. Now, are all the characters in Covenant stupid? Yes, they are. Especially Billy Crudup. Like, holy shit, he's so stupid. Because seriously, you have a brilliantly acted scene where David faces the Neomorph, and then Billy Crudup shoots him. And then, Billy Crudup is for some reason, he believes him, but then he gets a chest burst and it's awesome. And David created that. But because David realizes humans are flawed, the human life form is very flawed. And actually, the human life form doesn't deserve to live. And he will use the human life form to make his life form, the xenomorph, which he created completely. Like, he constructed that. It's just so awesome. Like, everything that Michael Fassbender does in those movies, first of all, Prometheus, where he gets the little sample of the organism that they find in the cave on his finger, and he actually puts it in the drink of local Marshall Green's character, and that is how he manages to impregnate Noomi Rapace's character, which, by the way, there's your first chest burster. When the alien comes out of Noomi Rapace's character, which is also a great scene. And I just adore David for constructing all of that. And I think, like, despite what you might think of Prometheus and Covenant, he is amazing in it. So that's what I have to say.
Relax. I will do the fingering.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever want to see Michael Fassbender have sex with himself? There you go.
Although, to be fair,
no, I didn't.
I can't help but shake the feeling that Fassbender was on a super ego trip the day of that, the day they shot that scene.
Who wouldn't be?
And you know what? I'm completely okay with it, actually.
Fair. And you know what? Okay. And side note, as much as I can't even with Covenant. I do like that scene, and I do like Walter in Covenant.
Yeah, Walter is the best character.
Yeah.
Besides
Easily.
David, of course.
Has David. And, you know, I will give a little bit of a quick love to Ash because,
Ian Holm.
Come on. It's Ian Holm. Does he ever give a bad performance? No.
So, I mean, at that point, if we're going to talk about aliens, then you also have to bring up Call from Alien Resurrection.
I want an ice cream cone.
Ice cream cone. Just
not a huge fan of that one, but
yeah.
Look, I like Resurrection as a guilty pleasure, but it's not good.
No, and I like Winona Ryder as an actress, but
no.
The fuck was she doing in that movie? Oh God. Woo, Lordy. Here, you know what? I think that deserves a drink.
Yeah.
Okay. But speaking of though, Robert, did you have another one you wanted to bring to the table, bring to the conversation?
I was actually going to bring up Bishop.
Well, then by all means.
Oh, go.
I mean, we've already covered it. Bishop was awesome. I like the idea that Bishop was the anti-android to Ripley's experience with Ash. So she wasn't very trusting of the robots going into aliens, and that Bishop had completely turned her around to it. So, yeah. I mean, Bishop was really good. The only thing I really liked, or that I will really point out that I loved about Bishop was, I'm trying to remember the details of it, but they're saying that someone has to go fix the satellite dish so they can make contact with the ship that's above. And I think it was Hudson was like, yeah, Bishop should go do it. And he's like, don't get me wrong. I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid. I would prefer not to do that myself as well.
It's true.
I really like that part of it. And Lance Henriksen is a fantastic actor in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in, primarily in...
He's also in Terminator.
In Terminator, yeah, the Cameron movies. I'm trying to think what other ones I had listed down that was also.
There's a couple in the thumbnail that we'll definitely make sure we give a quick shout out to. You know what? Actually, since we mentioned the thumbnail, I want to get this guy out of the way right now. Just to give some love to, honestly, what is in my opinion still the most underrated movie on this list. And I call me a sap, but if there's one thing that Alan Tudyk is really good at doing, it's playing robots.
Yep.
And iRobot is so underappreciated, especially him as Sonny. Dear God. Woo.
Also, directed by the same guy who did Gods of Egypt.
Alex Proyas, indeed. You know, and one of the cool things about Sonny in particular is that even though he's a fugitive, he's a robot marked for murder, he's completely innocent. And all that he's trying to do is uncover this horrifying conspiracy that all these robots are going to suddenly turn red and they're going to turn super evil. And yet he's still willing to help the humans, even though the whole time nobody trusts him. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants anything to do with him, but they're still willing to give him that shot. That is super fucking admirable as a robot. But you know,
and also his creator was Ephraim Cochrane.
Yes, he was. Yeah. So many Star Trek references here. It's kind of amazing, actually. Now I'm just waiting for Will Smith to pop up in a Star Trek movie. Oh wait, please don't ever do that. I don't.
No.
Like him as the genie, I can do, but no.
I don't know if you could get an android that goes, haha, yeah,
good Lord, yes. Or, well, yeah, no. But yeah, no, I wanted to throw that one out there real fast because it's Alan Tudyk. Come on. The dude is
the visual effects still hold up, I'd say.
Yes. Well, and that's because, Proyas knew that he had to keep as much of that practical as he could.
Yeah.
So,
as far as you can make such a robot look practical.
Yes.
I love the design. I love Tudyk's performance. I think Will Smith is good in this movie. One of the movies he's good. Okay, to be fair, this was prime Will Smith, to be fair. So,
oh yeah,
you got that going for you. But yeah, it's a good movie. I like it.
Robert, any thoughts on iRobot?
I liked it just for it putting to paper Isaac Asimov's ideas about robotics. I liked it. I think it was a really good story based around that because his laws of robotics. You just say them and you're like, I want to see a movie about that because that sounds fantastic. What if a robot was able to break through those rules? How would you set up that story? So I thought that was really good. There was a couple of flaws with it. There was just parts of it I was like, okay, whatever. It kind of lost my interest. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% on the idea of Will Smith being in that movie, but he was definitely good in it. I would say that was probably some of his better movies. But I mean, I'm putting that on the pedestal of comparing it to Bad Boys. Easily one of Will Smith's better movies franchises.
Which isn't saying much, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, some of his movies have been like really hit or miss, more miss than hit. But Bad Boys 1 and 2 was fantastic. Independence Day, of course, the first Men in Black.
Although, Garth, I don't want to disagree with you, oddly enough. As far as being a better detective than most of the Batman portrayals, you're kind of right. Because, like, the lengths that Sonny goes just to, like, clear his own name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than than Bale did as a detective. It's more than Keaton did as a detective. It's more than Kilmer or Clooney certainly did.
They really haven't shown off too much of Batman's detective skills in the movies.
Outside of Mask of the Phantasm and
Mask of the Phantasm is the most. That's crazy.
Yeah, but then to be fair, Case, you and I also say it's arguably the best Batman movie.
It is.
So, we're those weirdos who think that kind of nonsense.
I don't think we're weird in that regard. There are a lot of people who are turning around on it.
Fair point.
It's just underseen.
Yes, that I agree with. Okay. I have one, but I'm going to save him for my last spot. Let me just double check the thumbnail.
I think I've got one too, and I'm hoping it's not the one that you want to save for the last spot.
Oh, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. But Case, look at the thumbnail. I noticed a couple that you added I was kind of surprised by. Because I don't recall if you've seen RoboCop yet. Have you?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So you guys can talk about that.
And we'll get there in a second. But you also put on the Sentinels.
Yes, because the Sentinels in the Matrix are amazing.
Oh, so the Matrix Sentinels, not the X-Men Sentinels.
Yeah.
I actually like the X-Men Sentinels, but the thing is, did X-Men completely take it off the Matrix? It seems so. In a lot of ways, they're very similar and they're identical in name. But yeah, the Matrix Sentinels are deadly. They come after you and they will hunt you down. And in that first movie, they're used sparingly. In the third one, they really go overboard with it. But I thought it was kind of cool. That was probably my favorite part of that movie, that we saw so many Sentinels. More so because I saw the Animatrix, where we actually see the machines digging to get the Zion, and they see that entire Sentinel army, and it's a really cool design. It's a terrifying design, and I just love how it operates, because that's what you see, especially in the second and third movie. Mostly the third movie. That's one thing I'll give the third movie credit for, that we actually see like how the Sentinels work, and it's kind of a small thing, so it's not why that movie is great or anything, because that movie still sucks. But I do think the Sentinel part is cool, and that you see the inner workings of how the Sentinels work, how they can power up a huge being, like they power up the drill again. Yeah, and like in the first movies, they're really used sparingly, but like during the climax, they are the threats and making sure that the Nebuchadnezzar is having big issues with them. As I said, I mostly just love the design for them, like how they look and how they work.
And actually, that's one of the things with the Matrix series that I have to give a good amount of credit to. Sure, I have some issues philosophically with the Matrix. I have some issues with how some of the CG has held up, especially in 2. Good fucking God. But the Sentinels are honestly some of the coolest, like, henchmen of your, or essentially some of the coolest villains you will see in a big blockbuster sci-fi series. And I kind of wish we got more of them. Like, get rid of Agent Smith after the first one. Let's focus on the real world. Let's get more into the Sentinels. And of course, we couldn't do that because Hugo Weaving was so damn popular because of that movie. So,
well, I am glad that they showed a lot of the war in Zion in the third one.
Yes,
because that is the most interesting part. But yeah, every time they come back to the Matrix, it's like, oh, get the fuck out of here.
Just move on, please. Shut up, Hugo Weaving. I still love you. You sexy, sexy man.
What?
What did... Okay, never mind. Just don't worry about it. But yeah, no, like... If we just got a little more of them in 2 and 3, then they would have been the true threat that I feel the Wachowskis were trying to set them up to be in the first film, and we just never quite got there. But, I think we have to talk a little bit about some humorous robots. Because, yeah, we've been talking about a lot of murder bots and killers and whatnot. But I got to bring up some funny ones here real quick. Now, Robert, I swear to God, if you and I are both thinking Johnny Five, we're going to have problems here.
No,
okay.
But that's a good one to bring up, too.
Yes. So then let's talk about Johnny Five for just a moment. Because, hey, laser lips. Your mama was a snowblower. Who doesn't love Johnny Five?
I need to revisit those movies again. It's been a while since I've seen them.
Oh, they are racist as fuck, but my God, are they fun.
Oh, no, what was it? What's his face was playing an Indian?
Yep.
In that? Oh, Fisher Stevens, who is a predominantly white man.
Mm-hmm.
Playing an Indian, and he plays like he plays an Indian like Mickey Rooney played a Japanese Tiffany's. Like, it is like the bare bones stereotype of that ethnicity. It is bad, and there's no way that would hold up nowadays.
Nope.
But yeah, the only thing I can remember quoting like from Short Circuit was like, Johnny Five is alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a stupid movie. I mean, when your lead actor in your movie is Steve Guttenberg, you're not really aiming for the fences, are you?
Hey, I mean, we kind of like, okay. Seriously, 80s kids, I want you to be a huge ass favor. I want you to explain to me why Gutenberg was a thing.
Police Academy and 3 Men and a Baby. That was why.
But if that's it,
pretty much.
But if that's it, come on. All right. But no, like, and the reason that we go back to Short Circuit 1 and 2 is it's not because of the humans. It's because of Johnny Five. He has such a distinct personality. He's essentially if HK-47 from Knights of the Republic was just a little bit less murderous. That's essentially his character.
Still had to bring it back to Star Wars, didn't you?
I know. I mean, HK is my bae. Can you blame me?
Like it's inevitable with us.
It's inevitable with us.
The robot reminds me of C-3PO. I'm not bringing it up for any reason.
Hey, I mentioned 3PO when we talked about when I mentioned the Metropolis.
This is true
stuff. So, you know, and of course he's a classic. Kees, please.
No. You continue. I just found my next one.
No, I was pretty much done. So no, if you got one, go.
Crap. What's her character name? Alicia Vikander in Ex Machina.
Oh, Ava. Oh my God. Oh.
There we go. Oh, she's so good in this movie.
Talk about a robot that's trying to find humanity.
Yeah.
Move over, exactly. Data. We got one who's literally trying to become a human, and it's
exactly
terrifying.
It's terrifying in terms of the other ones that Oscar Isaac's character created, but it's also just amazing to see how it unfolds and how crazy it gets, especially towards the end when she just straight up stabs him, and especially when when she stabs him, and it's really dry how she stabs. It's like like how a robot would stab a human, and they I think one of the best lines in that movie is when he's looking and he's like, fucking unreal, like he cannot believe what just happened because he created a robot that killed him. And yeah, she, like, Alicia Vikander in this movie is so good. To be fair, 2015 was kind of her year. I don't know if she should have been nominated for this movie as well. Whatever. And what I also love about like the way they went about the movie, because I saw the Blu-ray special features I borrowed up from my parents, is that, oh no, wait, that's not from the Blu-ray. That's from Lessons from the Screenplay. They did an episode on this where, because to be fair, the protagonist of this movie is Ava. However, you don't get that she's the protagonist because it starts with Donald Gleason's character, who goes to the facility because that is more interesting to follow, and then transitions into Ava. Because if you had started off the movie with Ava being the protagonist, this movie would have been a lot less interesting. But the way you discover her throughout the movie and you learn more about her, that is interesting. That is so interesting that, like, it has me start to finish. And yeah, Ex Machina is just a great movie.
Yeah. Robert, any other thoughts you want to throw in there?
As far as Ex Machina?
Sure. Oh,
no, he pretty much covered it all.
Fair enough. No, and I had to do a little fact check. I'm like, wait, I thought she was nominated. No, she was nominated for Danish Girl. You're right.
Danish Girl she won the Oscar for it, but I'm like, this movie could have been another nom, really.
Oh, easily.
I wouldn't have been mad.
Although, unfortunately, it probably would have split the vote, which really would have sucked. But yeah, fair enough.
I don't think it was released during the Oscar season, so I think it was actually released.
Well, it won Best Visual Effects, so
yeah, it did win Best Visual Effects, but it was nominated. It was released at the beginning of the year, so it was nominated for a lot less than it should have been nominated for.
Yes, because it should have been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God Schmodown never asked questions of like what month was a movie released. Ooh. That would be rough.
Give it time. And Robert, when it does happen, just get on a call with us. We'll train you.
It's not like I couldn't. Okay.
All right. So I'm seeing the clock starting to wind down. But no, that's a good one, Kees. Damn. Robert, do you got another one, or do you want me to just go to my?
Yes, I've got one that I feel like if we don't talk about, we'll probably get like a lot of hate, like in the chat and people commenting later, because this is one. These are robots that I feel like when you're talking about robots in movies and pop culture, these are kind of the ones that could get lost in that discussion, like Tears in the Rain.
Oh. Good call. Good call.
You can't ignore the replicants, and especially out of all of them, Roy Batty as the focal point of all of them, because you're talking about robots that essentially are set up to be the villains of the movie, and then by the time you reach the end, you're like, wait a minute, they just want to live.
Yeah.
So you're teetering on that balance of like the good versus the evil, but there really isn't one.
Yeah, and let's also throw in from Blade Runner 2049, especially Kay, the one chick who goes around killing everyone, Joy. Ugh. No, Case, I do too. Do not feel bad. Literally, like, Blade Runner honestly had some of the best robots ever.
Seriously, one of my favorite scenes in all of Blade Runner 2049, that is the scene when Joy becomes the girl to finally have sex. That's a phenomenal scene. Why did I forget about this? I don't know. Jesus.
And you know what? Shit. It's led to one of the greatest mysteries of cinema over the last 35 years. Is Deckard a replicant?
We don't know.
We don't know. And I love that. I fucking love that. Oh.
And that's what I adore about Blade Runner 2049, not giving that answer. And especially because, you would think a replicant couldn't have a kid. Guess what? Rachel had one.
Rachel had a kid. Yeah, she had the parts.
That's one of those where you are like desperately wanting to know that answer, but at the same time, if
you don't want to know
that answer, it ruins your whole life, essentially. Yeah,
Yes.
that would.
So unless you're Denis Villeneuve, don't make a Blade Runner sequel.
Yes, basically.
I actually highly recommend just leave that franchise alone now.
Exactly.
That should be one, like, you barely, like, I'm surprised that we were able to make it with 2049. Like, when that came out, I was ready for that to be a complete crap show, and I was like, thank God that actually turned out well.
Yeah. I remember, like, a sequel to Blade Runner? Really?
Yeah.
And then I saw Denis Villeneuve, and then I saw the movie, and I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good.
And turned into one of the best movies of the decade, in my opinion.
Yeah. By the way, the anniversary is coming up because November 2019.
Literally, yes. Yeah. Garth, thank you for mentioning it. Yeah. Right now, we are living in Blade Runner. So someone get out to Los Angeles. Let's go find Rick Deckard, and let's tell him, hey, listen, don't shoot the replicants on sight. They don't want to kill anyone. They just want to live.
I have a feeling we're not too much further in this timeline than we were back in 2015 when we were celebrating Back to the Future too. sorry to bring up Back to the Future, Dohmen.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Let's add some neon to this day.
Absolutely. Woo. So, okay, for my last one, this is a super cheat. But seeing as how his character was in 4 direct-to-video movies, and one of them was released in theaters,
I almost don't think we can guess this one at this point.
Now, sure, I would bring up the Iron Giant, and my God, that is a great robot. But I have to talk. I just have to gush about a guy who only has one request of all of you, and that is to bite his shiny metal ass. Bender from Futurama is hands down one of the funniest fucking characters in the history of animated television.
Thought you were going to go to Killbots from Chopping Mall. That's more like Alex, but okay.
Yeah, a little bit more. And the reason I can never get enough of Bender is because literally he is everything wrong with humanity. And we still have to love him for it. Like, what does he do all day? He drinks, he smokes, he plays around, and he does nothing. But do we still love the ever-loving piss out of him? Yeah, we do, because my God, does he know how to make us laugh? He's like the perfect abusive boyfriend in that regard.
He's just wanting to say. He just says everything we want to say, but we don't.
This is true.
It because we still want people to like us.
It's like, sure. And what could I, right now, if I wanted to, I could start my own YouTube channel and there'd be blackjack and hookers, and it would be great. But I can't do that because that would make no fucking sense. But only somebody like Bender can say that and make it fucking work.
I actually want to issue that challenge. Go start that YouTube channel. I bet you beat us to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, but you're implying that I have money to start a channel with blackjack and hookers, and I have money for neither. So, unfortunately, I mean, shit. And Garth, thank you once again. His intro scene has him stepping into a suicide booth and slipping it out cheating it by slipping out his coin. Only a con man like him can get away with that, and that's why Bender is just the fucking best. God, I love that. I love that robot. And of course, when you have arguably just one of the most random catchphrases of all time, this side of Wubba Lubba Dub Dub from Rick and Morty, you're gonna be beloved. You are gonna be so beloved. Because yes, if I had a shiny metal ass for you to bite, I would tell you to bite my shiny metal ass. So, yeah, I think that's the perfect place to end this conversation. But guys, did you either of you, do you have any other thoughts on Bender or?
Really like Bender. I still need to I've only watched probably the first couple of seasons of Futurama, so I need to continue watching them. But
you are gonna have fun with the 4 movies. I promise you that.
Yeah. But yeah, Bender is definitely the standout of those shows of that. Yeah.
All right. Case. You're muted.
I don't like Futurama. We're done.
Fair enough. Well then, I suppose with that note,
would this become an ASMR channel?
We tend to have these moments from time to time.
So you have to have a good mic to do it with.
Damn right you do. Okay. Before this gets too weird, before this turns into a Ken Knapsack motivational Monday thing, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Who Cares Anime podcast. Thank you so much for putting up with all the technical shenanigans that were happening behind the scenes. I am so sorry. That this happened, but we still had a great conversation. We still had a great show. To everybody listening on the podcast feed, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, and let's just keep it that way. But last little bit here. Next week, we will be having the one, the only, the former 2-time champion of the Movie Trivia Schmodown, Mark Yodi Riley, on the show. It'll be an amazing time. Robert, our friend, where may the good folks find you online?
Before we jump into my plug, I highly recommend Mark Riley. He is a blast to talk to. We've had so much fun talking to him. So that's going to be a good episode, and I'm hoping I'm available to at least watch it live. You can find me over on the Cinefanatics channel. We are approaching 1,000 subscribers. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will also be live streaming. We're going to talk about movies and Schmodown, and we're actually going to probably start getting a little personal because I know for the most part, most people who watch our channel, our reactions, don't know a single thing about us. So we're actually going to start doing some personal interactions with people who watch us, fans. So please go over to the Cinefanatics and subscribe to our channel. Help us hit that 1,000. You could also follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram. That stands for Method Living Productions, Not My Little Pony, JTH. So go over there, follow that. You can follow me personally. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Robert Adams MLP. So you can follow there as well. And yes, Garth, we are roughly about 30 away at this point. So we're really close. We will be doing our first live streaming probably within the next couple of weeks at this rate.
Sweet. And Kees, where may the good folks find you online? Oh, that was intentional. That was intentional.
All right. Well, you can find me at This Movie Guy on Twitter, Kees Cornelisse on Facebook, and Letterboxd. Over here on Dedicated to Art, hosting Schmodown reactions. Especially from next week on, that's going to be 3 Schmodown reactions per week. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. And considering that I have to do a couple of them myself, yeah. We review Star Wars Resistance every week. So check out our Star Wars Resistance reviews. Viva la Resistance. Yeah, and movie trivia face-off whenever my match drops. I'm still waiting on that.
Well, less said about that, the better, I suppose. And, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dohmen. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. Join our Facebook group to stay up to date with everything that we got going on. And, yeah. Guys, big shit coming in 2020. Big announcement episode coming in a couple of weeks. Please, for the love of God, do not miss it. We hope to see you all there. But until next week with Mark Yodi Riley, you know what to do. Take care!